the trees and flowers of old England, the gentle countryside of Shropshire. But the greenness hides an ancient ruggedness. Hills and crags the Romans feared, the Britons fortified. And scarred on the landscape like an Iron Age camp, the track of modern battles. The most punishing motocross circuit in Europe, Hawkstone Park. The toughest track for the roughest battle, the Girling Grand Prix. A day as dry as dust at the end of July. After months of preparation by the Salop Motor Club, the Hawkstone circuit is almost ready. Ready for the crowds who follow one of today's most exciting sports. Ready for the riders to fight it out in this crucial British round of the 250cc World Championship.
Put him down on top here, Dave, right to it.
With the ever-growing popularity of motocross, it's vital that the sport's widely respected standards are upheld. So every aspect of track safety and precaution is checked and approved by the officials of the Fédération Internationale Motocycliste as they walk the course. Bill Swan.
Sections of the course which were, shall we say, too exacting for the drivers and therefore liable possibly to cause injury, they've made them very, very much safer.
The infamous Hawkstone Hill gets special attention. It sees most of the action and most of the trouble. Ken Blampid.
It's one of the steepest, I think, in the motocross world. It's really a track for sort out from the men from the boys, and I think it's a first-class track.
The Grand Prix must be a test of skill and strength, not of recklessness. At Hawkstone, riders survive by expertise, not bravado. But the day's weather brings an extra hazard. Senor Bulto.
Well, I see a very nice track, lovely country, but I am really surprised to find so dry. It's usual in Spain, but not used to be in England. For me, it's a big surprise, and I think the only problem that could be in this track tomorrow is the dust.
Whatever the conditions, riders, mechanics, and team managers love the challenge of Hawkstone. Alec Wright, Kawasaki team manager.
Well, for me, Hawkstone Park's the greatest circuit in the world. We wouldn't have to go anywhere else if we could just run meetings here. I'd like to see 5 internationals a year here.
Graham Noyce.
It's a fantastic circuit. I think, it's really a rider's circuit, and it really tests the rider and the machine. There's no way you can get round here with luck. You have to be 100% all the way around.
If you can't rely on luck, you rely on meticulous attention to detail.
Testing. 1,
Which tires,
2,
what pressures,
3,
what spring ratings.
4, 5.
Each rider and each mechanic makes a calculated guess, assesses conditions against experience. At Hawkstone, an error of judgment could throw away a race. The technical emphasis has shifted. Engine performance has reached a peak. So to give the rider greater opportunity to use his skill and to help the engine power the bike more effectively, new rear suspension units have been designed to take the battering of a Grand Prix race. Gas shock absorbers that can handle the extreme temperatures that build up as the back wheel takes every bump and rut. It's here that the Girling Gas Shock technical team bring their specialist knowledge to bear.
A reason that Peter and I come to a meeting like this with the technical team is that all the riders are all here together, and the equipment that they're using this year, what goes into production is sold on the market next year. It is square section, approximately 60. Yes. So we can sort out all the installation problems in terms of springing, in terms of damping, and maybe some strange installations which you've just seen on that latest German machinery. He's having problems with the damping fading over the high temperatures that they reach on motocross, and we're just going back now with these units to change the spring rates, hope that they'll be better for him.
Tony, come on.
When the bikes are ready, they're weighed in. Each machine is checked by the scrutineers to ensure that it matches the specification for 250cc World Championship motocross.
Okay. Get it off my foot. Right, sir. One more.
The problem for the manufacturers is to build a bike that's light enough to meet the standard, but strong enough to take the course. After weighing in, noise testing, to make sure that noise levels aren't excessive. Only after all the technical requirements have been met can practice begin.
Will all marshals make sure that they're in position, please, and St John's in your positions, thank you. All marshals to your positions, please. And St John's to yours, and all crossings closed in a few moments, thank you.
Practice is one of the most important parts of the day, when riders can check the course and course conditions, test the starting rig, and get used to the dust. From the start, you curve into the tunnel, a narrow straight overhung with trees, checkered with sunlight and shadow. Then into the fast back corners of the track that swerve round to a small humpback jump. Off the jump, you hold the bike on line to take an awkward right-hand corner, pulling out into a long looping curve up to the pit, 14 deep and puddled with soft sand that can swallow a wheel and stop you dead. So you come up at the pit fast with the front wheel high, shut off at the last moment, then power out. From the pit, you drive all out at the Girling jump, hammering towards the ramp, taking a line that avoids the ruts and hummocks on the far side. Off the jump, you keep the front wheel high, steering by power and body weight and relying on the back shocks to take all the punishment. You lift the bike off the ground and fly, 60 feet or more of sheer exhilaration. You fly low and far, or high and short. Gripping the tank between your knees, you lean and pull on the frame like a hang glider pilot to hold the bike on line. Then down you come. 350 pounds pile into the dirt. The rear shocks bottom out as you wrench hard to keep control. And on you go, through the chicane and into the hill. You drive hard, keep the bike heading. If you're tough, you take the hill like a straight, even changing up as you power towards the corner, taking the turn by pushing your bike into the outside bank and swerving it round. If you're not that strong or that skillful, you take the inside, hanging in tight, dragging a leg. Then, over the back of the hill towards a sudden drop on a tight bend. That throws you down over loose rocks to the gully and the hairpin, trying to pick a line through the sunlight and the shadow, round to the back straight and onto the tunnel again. By the end of practice, you know what you're up against.
It's rough.
Thorleif Hansson, the Swedish Kawasaki team rider, placed 7th in the World Championship before the Grand Prix.
It's rough enough.
Yeah.
Because normal sand tracks like, you know, in Belgium and Holland, it's not so fast.
Yeah.
But here it's wide open. Today it's the guy who lasts to motors is going to win.
Yeah.
No matter what bike or whatsoever. Because, Jesus Christ.
Hansen knows there are two men who have to be watched, two Russians who've taken the World Championship by storm. One is Vladimir Kavanov, the other is Gennady Moiseyev, the Iron Man of motocross.
Well, Moiseyev must be favourite, I would think
so.
Certainly, the Russians are going exceptionally well.
Nick Harris, Motorcycle News, and Martin Christie.
I was interested in yesterday watching them. They were halfway up the infamous hill there, stopping halfway up in case they get balked in the race, and practicing starts halfway up, which is, that's sheer professionalism, isn't it? But there might be a surprise. I thought Everts was going very well in practice
he's
yesterday.
going well. Harry's had a bit of a bad time of it the last few years, but I think he could have come on strong again.
Yeah, of course, I mean, he's a former world champion. He knows what it's all about.
Yeah.
He switched to bull packers at the beginning of the season. Probably took a bit of acclimatisation, but now he seems to be going well.
Bull Taco probably isn't as fast as the KTMs, but Harry seems to be riding it hard and consistently, so he could just be in with some luck today.
Obviously, everybody would love to see a British win. Graham Noyce must be the top of the British runners, although, of course, he hasn't ridden the 250 this year. He's had his problems with injuries and bike troubles and everything. He seems to be over all those now. And, I don't know, this chap Hansen, he's one to watch. I think this is Mr. Noyce. It's not Mr. Hansen. No, it isn't.
No,
Mr. Noyce.
I've got my name on here. If they want to read it, you know.
We were just saying you had no chance today.
No, maybe I haven't, but I'll try my hardest.
Yeah, that's what we said.
No, the racing comes down to, you know, all the times is one thing, but the racing's another thing. If you don't make a good start and all your times is waste of time, you know.
How do you find the difference between riding a 250 and your 440?
Well, it's entirely different. I'd rather be on a 440 or a 400, whatever you call it.
Yeah, just up that hill, I should imagine.
Well, you can rely on the power, not the, you know, not your... Rely on the power more, you know, because you've got to ride it. But the trouble is with 250 is if you get a quick 250, it might not be the rider, it's the bike. You know, like the KTMs are very, very fast. But I'm not, you know, I mean, Moiseyev and Kavanov are riding fantastic anyway. You know, there's no way you can get away from that. So the circuit's in good condition. They're going to move a few rocks down the hill on the left-hand side, which are a little bit dangerous, but it'll be okay when they do that.
There are still plenty of rocks up there, though.
Just a little bit on the downhill, and you keep on hitting your front wheel, you know, and it's a little bit dangerous, but they're going to move that, and they've watered it good, so it should be good.
18,000 people think so too, and as the crowds gather, the tension builds. Suddenly it starts.
And the Motocross worker. He's going to play Motocross, he's going to check Reece Thompson and Richard Boniface. Any time now, the buck's beginning to fly, the field's beginning to fly, all and here we go for this express big race for the nose. Monster bike early. The gate is ready, somebody's breaking a long way, there they go.
Over the jump, Moiseyev leads, storming away from the pack on his KTM. The opening laps are crucial. With a bad start, you may never make up the ground, stuck in the traffic. On the hill, it's Moiseyev 22. Bruno 9. Everts 1, Bovin 2, Kavanov 20, Kulquist 17. Pushed by Hansen 16, then Suzuki 14, Mingles 4, followed by the rest of the pack, fighting to clear each other in the dust. Rob Hooper 29, Barbarowski 5, Malherbe 3, Neil Hudson 27, Graham Noyce 30. The hill strings the field out and claims its first victim, number 24, Rolf Diefenbach. Into the back bends, Moiseyev piles on the pace, building up a powerful lead ahead of Jean-Jacques Bruno on another KTM. Kavanov pulls up to third position, ahead of Bovin on the Montesa. Into the pit, and Moiseyev is still increasing his lead. At the jump, it's Moiseyev. Bruno. Kavanov. Bovin. Everts. And Kulquist, Suzuki and Hansen together ahead of the bunch. Up the hill, Moiseyev works the KTM hard, forcing it up the dirt. Bruno takes the easier line on the outside. Malherbe loses power as Jerker goes through on his CZ. Kavanaugh takes Bruno through the tunnel and hunts after his Russian rival. Suzuki goes out, taking a fall at the bottom of the hill. At the jump, Mingles 4 has taken Hansen, but the gutsy Swede hangs on. Up the hill, Everts is going well on the Bultaco. At the jump on the 4th lap, Mingles and Hansen are neck and neck. Moiseyev swerves through with Kavanaugh holding on as the KTMs thrash out of the turn. Everts, number 1, chases Boven out of the hill, when Hansen cuts inside Mingles to pull himself back. Neuss goes through at the back of the leaders. Moiseyev, Kavanaugh, Bruno, KTMs in 1, 2 and 3, and Hansen chasing Everts. At the back of the front runners, Neil Hudson, 27. Then Barbarowski, 5. Neuss, 30. Make a mistake on the hill and you've had it. Rob Wilkinson loses power and turns into the back. It's all he can do to hold the bike against a steep gradient. After a stop like that, you never make up the pace. The fittest rider in the race, Moiseyev, hammers his bike around the track. But in motocross, strength isn't everything. Strength weakens and tires. Like Moiseyev and Kavanaugh, you've got to have the skill to know when to use muscle power and when not, eking out your resources over the 45 minutes. Otherwise, you burn yourself out. On the back straight, Hansen disappears, and the battle now is between 3 Belgians, Everts, Boven and Mingles. Karlquist takes the jump, followed by Barbarowski and Hudson. Lap 7, and Kavanaugh is beginning to close the gap, putting the heat on Moiseyev. A good rider can make up ground downhill, but it's a dangerous job. You pick your way through the rocks and dirt, keeping your weight back to stop the bike pitching forwards. Everts is 4th. And Mingles takes Boven to go 5th. Hudson chases Falter, followed by Neuss. Then it's Malherbe. Vaughan Simmons and the back runners. And Kavanaugh has really pulled up on Moiseyev. Over the hill, Kavanaugh snatches the lead, but Moiseyev stays on his back. Kavanaugh has done all the hard work chasing and has to keep up the pace with Moiseyev pressuring him from behind. Moiseyev holds on like a terrier, and Kavanaugh can't shake him off. After 2 laps, the 1974 world champion snatches back the lead and storms his way out of the pit, throwing off the challenge. Maish, number 23, pulls past Neuss and goes after Hudson.
Ground to make up. The Caitlin's really working hard.
A good-looking rider, Neuss takes the course stylishly. But on that unfamiliar 250, he gets into trouble on some sections of the course, where he would usually have relied on the power of a bigger bike. Hudson is very different, a real worker, very methodical and very steady. At only 19, he's got great potential and must rate as one of the best of the new British riders. If you can lose a race in the first 4 laps, you can win it in the last 4. At the back of the front runners, a rider can put the power on and pull himself up 4 or 5 places simply by taking the tired riders in front by surprise. Once past, it's they, not you, who have to do the work to catch up. On the last laps, Hans Maisch, son of the Myco factory manager, pressures Hudson and takes him, his size and strength telling in endurance. Moiseyev stays up front, pacing himself and pushing further into the lead. Kavinoff never gets back, but stays second, ahead of the young Frenchman who's riding one of the best races of his life. Jean-Jacques Bruno, number 9, hangs on to his 3rd place right from the start, although harried by the experienced Mingles. At the end of the first race, Moiseyev comes home with an unassailable lead. The cool professional, who's beaten the opposition and the track. Final placing, first Moiseyev, second Kavinoff, third Bruno, all on KTMs. 4th Mingles on Montesa, 5th Everts on Bultaco, 6th Barbarovsky on CZ, who pulled past Karlqvist in the last laps. Hudson came in 9th, Neuss 10th, and Torleif Hansen.
I crashed over there in the straightaway, fast straightaway over there. I flipped over forwards and then I decided to call it a day.
Did you hurt yourself?
Yeah, and the arm bow here hurt. So I talked with the doctor and he said, you better don't. That's it.
So Hawkstone beat you in the end?
Sure did.
You're coming back again to have another go?
Of course. Come back to win, I hope.
For Hansen, the racing was over. But for the other riders, there's just an hour's rest. Then it's back on the track for the second race. The Russians blast away from the start. The devastating speed of the KTMs pulling them away from the opposition. Through the pit, it's Kavinoff who sees the lead with Moiseyev hanging in tight. Then Boven, Bruno, Mingles, Everts, Peen scrambling through the dust ahead of the swarm. Into the tunnel, it's Kavinoff, Moiseyev, Boven, Bruno, Mingles, Everts, Malherbe, Peen. But at the pit, Kavinoff's gone. In the furious pace of the first lap, he'd lost control on the back curves and a crash that put him out of the race. Moiseyev is out on his own with Boven right behind him. Then it's Bruno, Mingles and Malherbe coming on strong. Then Everts dropping back, chased by Daniel Peen. And then the rest of the pack jostling for positions, straggling out with the furious pace. Plenty of people come unstuck in the pit. As Jeff Mays goes through on the Kawasaki, Pete Mathia takes a dive after his front wheel traps in the soft sand. And the pressure is on. The pace is white hot. Neuss goes over the jump ahead of Karlqvist and Maisch. And Can van der Van. Falter, Robertson and Steve Beamish go over in a bunch. Out of the gully, it's Moiseyev 22, Boven 2. Bruno 9, Mingles 4, Malherbe 3. Everts 1, Peen 10. Lap 3, and Boven slews across the pit, losing vital seconds as he tries to get a grip in the sand. Malherbe takes Mingles and homes in on Bruno. Moiseyev comes out of the hairpin, but Boven's gone after hitting a rock downhill and somersaulting. Bruno pulls into second place, with Malherbe smelling his exhaust fumes. Then Mingles 4 and Peen 10, who's taken Everts on the hill. Big Hans Maisch sticks to Neuss, waiting for the chance to take him. 5 laps gone, and Moiseyev powers on. Malherbe tries to take Bruno through the pit. Malherbe waits for the young Frenchman to make a mistake, waits for the inexperience to show, and it does. Malherbe seizes a line past Bruno down the straight and pulls away from him, chasing Moiseyev. And Pien hunts Mingles in just the same way, shadowing him, ready to snatch past at the first opportunity. For Everts, the pace was too much. He'd injured his knee in practice and was feeling the strain. As Hudson and Ken van der Van go through, the 1975 world champion gives up the race. Moiseyev rides very forcefully, but with superb control. Over the jump, his body moves like an antelope as he flexes and tenses, holding his line, arms locked onto the handlebars, fusing the bike to his body. Hans Meesch slams down into the dirt. That's why you need rear shocks that can take all the punishment, not just off the jump, but on every rut and hump. With a safe lead and his teammates gone, Moiseyev begins to lose pace, and Malherbe, pulling away from Bruno, goes after him. Pien has taken Mingles, and Meesch and Diefenbach have taken Neuss. Hudson piles over the jump, riding well and lasting the pace. By the 12th lap, Malherbe is closing on Moiseyev, and a classic Grand Prix battle of cat and mouse begins. After a searing start, Moiseyev had gone out on his own, setting his own pace. Then comes the challenge. Because Moiseyev has been riding his own race in his own time, he's fitter and fresher and more prepared to race than someone who's fought his way through the pack. Malherbe's advantage is surprise. Paring down Moiseyev's lead, he's working for the chance to surge past, hoping the leader has been lulled into false confidence. Two laps to go, and Malherbe has closed the gap on Moiseyev. They scramble out of the pit together. Moiseyev's holding his own, but Malherbe's pushing hard. Past the last lap flag, through the chicane, and Malherbe's piling on the pressure up the hill. They're battling it out side by side. On the back straight, Moiseyev pulls ahead and shakes off the challenge. As they come through the pit again, it's Moiseyev, hammering his bike through the dirt and storming down the finish straight to take the checkered flag. Where Malherbe failed, Meesch succeeded. He'd been piling the pressure onto Pien and Bruno and took them in the last laps to finish third in the race and overall. Bruno 5th and Diefenbach 6th. The highest place scoring British rider is Neil Hudson, 10th, but Graham Neuss finishes 7th in front of Van der Van.
I was pulling through at the end and stayed the same pace, I think, you know. Got used to 250 better, you know. You can't cut a bend on the 250, you got to go round it. Not like on the 400, you can turn it sharp and the power brings you out. But with the 250, you have to take the bend right wide, you know. It was going good. Come on, join it up.
If Moyse enjoyed his performance, Jean-Jacques Bruno is justly proud of his. Finishing third in the first heat and fifth in the second makes him overall runner-up to Moiseyev. A startling achievement for the 20-year-old Frenchman who'd never ridden at Hawkstone before.
And now I expect to finish in 10 first in World Championships.
Winner takes all. At Hawkstone, there's no question of luck or fluke. The hardest man wins. Moiseyev took on one of the world's toughest tracks and beat it. He beat the killing 1 in 3 hill on a fiery hot day. He beat the ruts and the tricks of stones and loose dirt. And he conquered the toughest opposition. By sheer skill and physical prowess, he sealed his claim on the World Championship, leaping 38 points ahead of Kavinoff on the championship table. The Iron Man of Hawkstone, the champion of the Girling Grand Prix.